Hey guys, how's it going? It's just under a week since the latest patch dropped in Paladins, so we're going to be reviewing some Octavia gameplay today. I'm not going to go through all her abilities and stuff, this is still primarily focused on how the player uses them. So you can see we're on Serpent Beach for this game. Now the enemy team's quite flank heavy, and Octavia is obviously a backline damage, so that proves quite challenging throughout this game. So as we're getting into it, you probably want to be dropping a dome pretty early to support your teammates here, and this is getting way too close, which obviously results in her death. So as I say, she's a backline damage, you want to be keeping your range. Now, he's dismounted quite early here, so this takes longer to get into the fight than it would otherwise. Dismounting is pretty much instant, so you don't need to pre-do that. And again, he's too close to this Andro. So there's very few champions that will beat an Andro one-on-one. This time, fortunately, he's not one-on-one, and the sniper helps him out. If I was that close to an Andro by myself, I'd just be leaping straight out of there. There's the risk he pursues you, but what can you do? Okay, that's a nice freebie. And then we're pushing this right side. This is more of a flank side normally. That's a good dome, but it's a little bit late to save the tank. And then this time he does jump away from the flank, and this is a 2-on-1. So even though it's closer than you like, because you've got the healer supporting you, you can keep pushing this. Nice double kill. And then there's a bit of indecision here. I would go mid probably. So again, you want to be keeping the enemy at range. This right hand side of Serpent Beach is normally used primarily by flanks because you're much closer. That's another good dome, so that confuses the Octavia, but the maid gets close. As I say, it's a flanked area and she gets punished for that. That is a very speculative bubble, and now you're getting 3-on-1, so again, you just want to be jumping straight out of here. You're not going to win that sort of battle. Here, opposite situation, so he's now grouped up with the team, and so they can push together. It's already quite late in the round, so this is going to prove quite challenging. But at least they're now moving as a unit, and they've got a couple of kills advantage. That's a much better bubble. So there are some good, some bad through this, and it's usually pretty obvious. So the good ones are ones where it's directly involved in the fight. It's forcing the enemy team to move out of the important areas, which is generally the mid lane, or giving your champions opportunity to approach safely. Again, playing the flank side and missing a lot of shots as a result. And now he's in with an Androxus and a Maid. Just use the leap ability, so doesn't have it available. And as a result, gets killed. And before he can come back, the round ends. So in that one, there was some good, some bad. Some bubbles thrown for no reason. Some quite useful ones. But it's very much a ranging issue for a lot of this. As I say, the enemy team is flank heavy, so you want to keep them as far away as possible. And now, as we get into this second fight, essentially nothing going on. Don't know where the enemy team is. Okay, this is a much better distance, so you can see the maid is missing her shots because of the range, or because of your scope, you've got easy fire. Now this is quite an exposed place to be standing. You can be seen from both sides. Now equally that means you can shoot from both sides, but I think this is a much better area to be in. And then if you're going to attack, right, don't shoot Androxus's reversal. So that's just done 1700 odd damage, completely unnecessarily. Okay, and again, that's a good dome, so that provides cover. And this ult pushes the enemy, or should push the enemy team out of the way. But when you get blinded by the maze, you just want to be getting into cover. So you probably don't need to be using the leap. You know that there's some various buildings around you, so you can just go and stand in one of those. Falls down here, is out of the fight. And outnumbered here, so you should probably be pulling back now, although you do have a healer with you. And the Androxus seems to have wandered off. And then gets the kill. So very close to death there. Willow's quite dangerous when she's got her cooldowns up, but you should be alright. That is a bubble to nothing. I don't know who he was aiming at or why. This is a reasonable range on the Andro, but you can see the sight lines are all a bit difficult because you're off of that main lane. And then keep running. So he only had 200 health, immediately got a good kill on the Willow in a head-to-head, but then when the Maid comes, doesn't have time to heal up, and so just wants to be getting out of there. Just keep falling back until you can get into cover, ideally towards your healer. Shooting reversal again, takes 1000 damage, doesn't do any to Androxus, and that allows him to finish him off. That's the second time. I think there's a third one coming up as well. And then, okay, we're taking the flank side. Gives you a good angle on the main. Gets the kill. Nope, doesn't get the kill. And is exposed. And down by the Androxus. So this switches about halfway through the game. Starts playing down mid. And I think it works out a lot better. But for the moment, is playing quite short range. And they just weren't able to get onto that point on time. So they're capping initially pretty easily, in large part because the enemy team doesn't have a tank, so they really struggle to get point presence. The Ceres is quite often getting themselves killed on the enemy team, trying to contest the point. But then once they get past there, there's definitely a lack of organisation in terms of what they're trying to do. And it feels like while this Octavia knows that she wants to be capturing this high ground, she's not quite sure what to do with it when she has. So I would recommend pushing on to their side. That's a nice protective bubble. So you want to be up on almost their bridge and their left-hand side. That way you've got cover and they're exposed, which means you can dictate the terms of engagement. Don't think they noticed the Androxus to their right. So they're quite outnumbered at the moment. You can see the blue people up ahead, although maybe they can't. But as I say, this is a much better area to be playing. You need to get away from the seedlings. Seedlings hurt. Seedlings really hurt. And now the team is back. That's another good ult. So one of the things they do very well throughout this game is the use of their ultimates. So they're generally used on point to try and deny the enemy team space. Or kill them. Get quite a few kills through it, which is there. If they're not going to give up the space, then you can punish them for that. But then when they're standing up on that bridge, they're just too exposed. Even here, they could be tighter to cover. They don't need to be this much in the open. Now, shooting reversal again. Nearly dies as a result of it, but the healer gets him back up. And again, they get the cap. That bubble forces the maid back, and in fact, she gets killed. And then I think Octavia just needs to be pushing mid all the way through. So you've got a Koga that can control these off lanes. You don't need to be trying to. They've spent too long shooting at someone far away, which has given Willow opportunity to just jump on them. That is the risk with any sighted character. So you see it a lot with Strix in particular, as well as Kinessa. But if you're looking down your sights for too long, your field of view is narrow. And so you can't see what's going on around you. And that gives people opportunity to jump on the side of you. The other thing that they haven't done throughout this game, what I'd really like to see, is taking enemies bridge and high ground. So you're one of the only characters on your team with vertical mobility. So you can use that to get up on top of their bridge and their space. You don't need to be right in the middle of the melee. But they get a good solid 4-2 win off that. So a lot of the key points here are about ability usage, probably because this is a brand new champion. Bubble usage mixed, some of them really good, particularly throwing it over your tank so that it protects the Terminus, who's mostly short range. But some were just lobbed into the distance in hope. And equally the leap, I think, could do with a lot of work. It's primarily an escape ability. You don't particularly want to be using it aggressively. Otherwise, if you're mispositioned, you can't get out again. So those are the big three things. Bubble usage, leaps, and please stop shooting Androxus reversal. Alright guys, if you've got a review you want doing, then drop the ID down in the comments below, as well as what champion you were playing. It does obviously need to have been spectated first time round. Otherwise, I'll hopefully catch you for the next time.